I will be checking the channels now. I am now in the Spanish channel. Bruno and Tian, can you hear me?
Hello, perfectly.
Can you
Here,
hear me?
checking and testing Spanish channel.
Hello,
Oh,
hello,
yes,
can you hear me?
I can hear the two of you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Gail.
I am now in the Hindi channel. Nimal, can you hear me? Nimal? Hello, I am now in the Hindi channel.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, we have set the Tamil interpretation in the Bahasa channel. I am now
Yeah.
in the Bahasa channel. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. I am doing English Tamil.
Yes. Thank
Here,
you.
here it says that English Bhasha. It's okay?
Yes, we put the Tamil in the
Yeah.
Bahasa channel.
Okay. Okay.
We will just inform everyone about that
Right.
information.
Okay.
Thank you. So again, all our interpretation channels are already set up. We have the Spanish channel. The Sinhala interpretation is in the Hindi channel, and the Tamil interpretation is in the Bahasa channel. Thank you.
Hi, can we start? Okay. Thank you very much. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming to our webinar titled Fighting Hunger Amid an Economic Collapse, a webinar on Sri Lankan food crisis, organized by the People's and Rural Constituency of the CSO Partnership for Development Effectiveness, called CPDE. So I'm Chatu Sewandi from Vikalpan National Women's Federation, and I will be your host for this discussion. I'm really sorry because of the low lighting, because there is an electricity failure here. We don't have electricity for around 2 hours. Therefore, I apologize for a low light, and if I'm quite choppy, please pardon for me. So what we are discussing today is a very important and very relevant topic. Not only does it concern the peoples of Sri Lanka who are now suffering from an unprecedented crisis, but it also a chance for us to be tackle the global food crisis through the lens of the marginalized people like us, from the rural people who are at the front line of this crisis. Now, before we get into our discussion, we would like to remind you on the following. Please make sure you are in a safe and quiet location so you can engage better with the discussion. And if you can, please remain your Zoom name with the format like name and the organization. And keep your mic like mute mode when you are not speaking, so we can all hear the discussion more clearly. However, we still want to see you and hear from you. So please make use even speakers are speaking. We will read them during the question and answering session later. We encourage you all to open your cameras. If that is possible for you, then we can see you. You can also engage by using emojis and icons, reaction features, so which you can access into our control. So we have Spanish, Sinhala, and Tamil translation, like interpretations, which you can set through the interpretation features. Sinhala interpretation is available in Hindi channel, and Tamil interpretation is available in Bahasa's channel. So you can select whatever the language you want to hear. This webinar is being recorded for the document and stream live in English on the Facebook pages of the organizers. So live stream watchers may also participate through the comment section on the Facebook. The links will be available in the chat box. Yeah, I think those are available. So please feel free to share these on your social accounts. Then we can share these discussions. So in addition, our webinar will be live tweeted on at PCFS Global account. So please follow the Twitter account for more details. And once you're following and once you're sharing, use #HungryForChange and #Sri Lanka Crisis when you tweet or post on social media. So to preface this discussion today, please welcome one of the leaders of the People's Coalition on Food Sovereignty, Alejandro Barrios, I think I spelled the name correctly, from Instituto, like we call it PCFS, and also an indigenous peoples and rural peoples organization in Bolivia and a part of PCFS, Latin America, and the Caribbean. So Alex is the co-chairperson of the CPDE Rural Constituency and is an advocate for indigenous people's rights, people's food sovereignty, and people's-led climate justice. Hi, Alex. Alex will talk in Spanish, so we will move to English channel.
Thank you very much, Chatu. Yes, please.
Gracias. Por favor, hello, can you listen in the English channel? Good day, everybody. Everybody here. I welcome you from Bolivia, from Latin America. This is a great event that gets us together to talk, to discuss, to dialogue about how we are fighting against economic crisis, economic collapse in Sri Lanka. We would like to welcome PCFS, People's Coalition of Food Sovereignty. We would like to welcome National Fisheries Solidarity Organization and the rural sector of CPD. I think that it's been a great initiative for us all to meet today to talk Firstly, about the reality, the situation that people are living in Sri Lanka, and to share experiences that we have in other countries around the world. In Latin America, for example, we have also passed through this tragic situation. We have lived through economic crisis, and we have resisted, fighted against neoliberal policies through structural plans. And furthermore, we want to see how people are affected, how they live through social injustice, and how this is becoming ever more real within our countries. I would like to thank international solidarity. There is international support. So there are thousands of people around the world who are suffering from hunger, suffering from this crisis. We must join together, all our peoples, to consolidate a social popular bloc. 90% means that there is a real change.
Desde Bolivia, estamos dispuestos a compartir nuestra experiencia después de haber vivido esa etapa de implementaciones de paquetes neoliberales para luego iniciar un proceso de cambio, un proceso de transformación, donde sin duda
change, social change, and the only way of doing this is that people's communities must be the leaders of this process of change. I would like to, all my brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka, I would like to give you strength, the courage to move forward, to resist. And I give you a cordial welcome to all of you present here. I know there are organizations here from many different countries from all over the world, and I also send my sympathy to Sri Lanka, and we will support you in your struggle. You can count on us, our international solidarity. There are peasants, indigenous people, communities, rural communities. We are all supporting you. Today, this dialogue, we can talk about the next steps and how we can support this resistance from our brother, sister country, Sri Lanka. So another welcome. Thank you. I'm in the English channel. I am interpreting in the English channel. I'm going to finish now, and I wish you all a good day.
අපි තවත් බලාපොරොත්තු නොවුණු ගෝලීය ආහාර අර්බුදයට
themselves are at the first field. Youth, fisher folks, and indigenous people like Dalit and Frustrates, and also farmer workers are being the brunt of the global food crisis. Ironically, their produce are met with ultra low prices amid a so-called food supply shortage. Inflation hits harder when you're poor, and the rural sector, and a full supply of food. So, and the other thing I wanted to share, like because once you are poor, and also this inflation rate, it cannot be tolerated anymore. Therefore, a lot of people in Sri Lanka have come to the road and they started to protest. So yeah, so without any further delay, I would like to talk to our first speaker from Sri Lanka, a staunch fisheries reforms activist and a development worker in Sri Lanka, working with fisher folks, agriculture workers, farm workers, and rural women towards justice and economic equality in Sri Lanka. Please welcome Herman Kumar of the NAPSO, we call it National Fisheries Solidarity Movement in Sri Lanka. Herman.
Thank you, Chatul. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, right. Greetings from the crisis, the crisis of Sri Lanka. We are in the peak of the crisis. My colleague Vimukti will explain how deep the crisis right now. So I would like to give some brief background, how this evolved. Next slide, please. So in that, I would like to give certain insights about the external factors and also internal factors. I don't want to go into detail about the external factors much because it's not that high. Of course, those are important. The pandemic, Russia-Ukraine war, and foreign direct investments. But I will go more detail on internal factors, like how the concentration of power of the current regime caused the damage to the country's economy and the social fabric. Also, how the agriculture sector crisis, how it happened and how it evolved. And also shortage of foreign reserves, what happened to that? And irrational policy decisions, fancy development activities. So all contributed to this current crisis very seriously. Next slide, please. So, so there are major shocks to the economy and also political landmarks. You can see East attack.
ஆகவே இலங்கையினுடைய பொருளாதாரம் மிக முக்கியமான ஒரு நிலைமை.
La pandemia y también
fear that they generated through that attack. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the current president, came to the power in November 2019. And also 20th March, the pandemic, of course, it cost a lot, but that was not the biggest problem. I will explain why. And also 2020 August, they got the 2/3 majority of the parliament, and it's over-concentrated the power. And by 2021, the symptoms of the economic crisis emerge. However, this April 2022, the country declared that we are bankrupt. So the youth began Aragalaya. That's we call it Aragalaya of love. Vimukti will explain better a later stage. We approached India for get credit, $1 billion, and also credit line for fuel crisis, about 500 million. Also, we went to China, $2.5 billion we borrowed from them. And then by May 2022, because of the political turmoil here, the Prime Minister and the cabinet had to resign. I will explain better later, but this is the sequence of the events during this period. So May 22, government approached IMF for bailout from the debt crisis, the 17th time of the Sri Lankan history after the independence. Next slide, please. Okay, now the situation here, it's like hyperinflation. It's like 122 by June 2022. Budget deficit, it's 15% of the GDP. And foreign debt, about $55 billion. Altogether, it is like 86 US dollars, but this is for the external debt. And energy crisis, the fuel power cut. So you can see how Chatu and others are experiencing. And the interpreters are saying that they are on power cut right now. And shortage of essentials, food, medicine, cooking gas, and things like that. So all are very high prices and scarcity in the markets. Also, losing income sources to the country, like foreign remittance. I will explain later how it's happening. And tourism, tea, that is one of the third highest export earning of the country. And breakdown of agriculture and the fisheries. So because of many reasons, I will explain. And tax exemptions, tax cuts to rich, and contracts and pay off under crony capitalism. So the situation is so severe that even no papers to print exam papers, and government postponing the exams because of no paper to print, and they cannot buy, we cannot buy right now. And we really invested a lot after the war, and also we did not prioritize our investments, so that we had very serious effect that I call it as fancy development projects. What happened to the PowerPoint? So I'm waiting. So can you, Nina? Hello?
Yes, sir, man. We'll set up it. Just give me a minute.
Should I share?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Please. Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we can see
Yes,
the screen. It's
Yes,
good.
yes, Arman. We are.
Yeah. Okay.
We are in.
There was a serious faulty decisions making at all levels, not only the political level, but also at the bureaucrats, and total disregard the professional advice. So that was one of the problems that we face in the country, because nobody cares about the okay. And you can see this is the balance of payment by 2019. You know what I told you about the many of the countries in the region and also in Southeast Asia, you can see the balance of payment was not so low like Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was the worst. Even Pakistan and Sri Lanka is facing the same type of problems right now. But even Pakistan is better than Sri Lanka at this moment. So you can see how So I just argue that the COVID was not that effect in Sri Lankan economy in that time. But you can see this chart. I just want to show you how the government debt increased year by year. But you can see every other 5 years, 2000 to 2005, it doubled. And 2005 to 2010, it's doubled. Likewise, after 2020, you can see it doubled the total government debt, which was really the cause of this sort of economic crisis, how it evolved during the past. And you can see in this chart, I just want to highlight here, by 2009, we concluded our war, internal war. From 2009 to 2015, that is the highest amount of loans or the borrowings we took from externally, and it increased very seriously because we wanted to do a lot of development works, very fancy development work. I will show you later how they are very much visible, but very high interest rate we should pay, and also maturity period is very low, and gaining is very, very seriously low. But if you can see how the dollar and rupee ratio increase from 2016 up to 2021, it increased like not that high. But in 2021, the government decided that they will artificially control the increase of dollar Sri Lanka rupee ratio. They want to keep 203 rupees equals to $1, so that they try to maintain dollar in a low rate. But that exhausted a lot of dollar reserves in the country. By now, they later they gave up, and now it is within a year, it increased like 198 to 362. So you can see how the rupee depreciated and also how this affected the Sri Lankan economy. So these are some of the fancy development projects that I mentioned. All are not necessarily important to provide economic benefit to the country's economy. So like Mattala cricket ground, and also the port city, and Hambantota Harbour, and Mattala Rajapaksa International Stadium, all are just white elephants. So they are just having there and no any returns to the country. So we invested to a lot of fancy development works, but not necessarily gaining to the country's economy, but we need to pay the interest and also the loans by within 5 years time, because 5 years grace period was given, but after that we need to pay. So by 2010 to 2019, it like 35 billion US dollars that we borrowed. And as I said, lower maturity period for loans. It's like 5 years. So higher interest rates, because we borrowed from the commercial lenders, and unproductive investments, no really returns or less returns. High level corruption. So corruption was one of the biggest problem in the country. So in recent, maybe you have heard about these Pandora papers. One of the sisters of the ruling party put her name in the appeared in the Pandora papers, saying around 36 billion US dollars in her name. So you can see this 2010 to 2019 period. So it's like 35 billion US dollars we borrowed, but many of them have gone for corruption. So you can see how increased this debt and the debt unsustainability in the country, and also mismanagement. So this create this tragedy seriously. And loss of income to the countries was really a problem, because in November 2019, immediately after this government came into power, the government decided that slash the VAT, value-added taxes from the rich people, and also income tax and other taxes. We lost 700 billion Sri Lankan rupees at that time. So recently, the Prime Minister, the current finance minister, said our income for this year it's around 1,200 billion Sri Lankan rupees. So you can see even more than half of the income lost at that time, 700 billion Sri Lankan rupees. So in that way, we had, because this the tax exemptions were given the political supporters of the ruling party when they come into power. And we had serious breakdown of income from tourism industry after the Easter attack. It's around 6 billion US dollars. And reduction of income from the tea exports, it's around 3 to 4 billion US dollars. And foreign remittance coming from domestic workers, again, 6 to 8 billion US dollars. And we had to pay back the loans and interest we borrowed. By this year, by end of this year, we need to pay 7 billion US dollars of the borrowings. And how the government respond? The government respond during the period of 2019 to 2021, it was 1.1 trillion Sri Lankan rupees they printed So they printed money to pay the salaries of the government servants or the public servants. And this year, now the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister said that they will print another 1 trillion Sri Lankan rupees to pay the salaries of the government servants. So as I said earlier, the fixing USD Lanka rupee ratio, 1 USD equals 203 Sri Lanka rupees, also sacrificed all the USD reserves. Now, by April this year, the government declared we are a country of bankrupt. So that is the time and I just put this this slide here because I want to highlight this person became a minister recently. He's a casino king and also #1 rich person in the country, and he became a minister amid the crisis. So before he come into because he is one of the person who evade the tax payment. He paid 1.15 billion Lanka rupees unpaid taxes before he joined to the cabinet. It was in June 2022, just last month. So that's how this crony capitalism is moving ahead in the country, and even amid the crisis of the country. So I just put this slide here to show how the country is gaining the income from the women, because you can see the more than 6 to 8 billion US dollars coming from the foreign remittance. So those are coming from the countries of Middle East. Many rural women are working in Middle East countries, and 19% coming from European Union and Far East Asia like Japan and Hong Kong and New Zealand and so on. So those countries also contribute a lot. Some are coming from Australia as well. So that is one of the highest income that we are getting from the country. But now, because of the corrupt government, the people living in the foreign countries, and also because of that, they wanted to fix the dollar rupee ratio. People say, no, we don't want to send the money to country, and we don't trust the government. Until this government resign, we will not send the money to the country. So in that, we are now getting very, very low amount of foreign remittance. Also, earning from garment factories, one of the highest income to the country, also women involved, and earnings of tea estate, women workers, agriculture and fisheries, of course, 50% contribution coming from the women workers. So our country's economy, the backbone of the country's economy is women, and their contribution is really undervalued, underestimated. But this is one of the biggest problems that we are facing, because we don't respect the contribution of the women. And I just put this slide just to give some thoughts, because these are the people said, no, we don't have any dollar crisis in the country. We don't want to go for IMF. I mean, I am not saying that we need to go to IMF, but they say that we don't have any other solution. And they say we don't want to go to the IMF, and we don't to do any kind of so alternatives to find solution to the economic crisis. So these four people, the secretary, governor, president secretary, and also advisor, these people are really took irresponsible decisions so that's why I said it is not only the politicians, but also the bureaucrats. They also contributed to this crisis. So we have come to the stage, finally, we need to go to the IMF. So IMF negotiations to get $4 billion US. So we are begging $4 billion US, but it is failed, because recently, June 30th, we had 10 days negotiations with IMF, and IMF said that we are not in the real terms that we provide the loan to the country. Actually, we wanted to get $4 billion US, which is failed, and they say that you need to provide more restructuring of financial systems and public sector and many things like that, so that they don't want to give the what do you call this loans to the country even. I just put this slide to tell you how the farmers contributed because you know, I don't think that any of the countries in the world that took a decision overnight saying that we will ban chemical fertilizer without phasing out from the totally. But they said that we will ban chemical fertilizer overnight without clear plan for an alternative way to replace that. And they want to cut off $400 million while banning these imports. And rice and or the paddy cultivation reduced more than 50%, which some of the government bureaucrats, like even the secretary to the agriculture ministry said that there will be a food scarcity and there will be a starvation in the country. Now we are facing that now right now. And it's not only fatty, but also vegetable, tea, fruits, and other products also affected very badly. So people started agitations. Also, we had serious problem with the fisheries sector because the fuel prices are gone up, and the fuel scarcity in the market is really a big problem. And the fishers, those who need something like 20 liters per day, now they cannot get even 5 liters. They have to stay in the what do you call fuel lines for maybe 2 days, 3 days, even they don't have enough fuel. So now we are faced biggest problem, and you can see this slide how the prices gone up. In 2019, you can see the bread 55 rupees per loaf. I mean loaf of bread. Now it is not 170, but it is 180 actually. So in that way, it goes up like that. Even like rice, you can see the prices of rice is like 102 earlier. Now it is 233. So it's all the basic foods are gone up. The dal, other vegetables, lentils, and all the food items are gone up. On top, the other items like even electricity is gone up. The telecommunication prices are gone up. All the prices are gone up in this, and it's aggregated the crisis. And you can see how the inflation rates. So it's like 45%. Actually, it says more than 45. Now it's like 55. So shortage of essentials in the market is really a problem. And you can see the cooking gas and some auto rickshaws are lining up in the roads without having fuel, and people are waiting for kerosene and diesel and petrol and everything. And government use the military to control the situation. So in that, people are, you can see one of the slides here. So the military has started attacking people, harassing people, and having biggest crisis here. And this is the slide that I just want to show you, because the these 4 people here, they were in the highest position in the government. This is president, and he was ex prime minister, and he was irrigation minister, and this one was the finance minister, and this was son of what you call sports minister. And these people decided everything of the country, and they control more than 70% of the national budget and the income of the country. And I put this slide, and particularly this lady called Nirupama Rajapaksa, whose name was appeared in the Pandora Papers for looting $36 billion from the country. So that's how the country moved towards the crisis. And now, because of this youth struggle, which Vimukti will explain better, these three people, Chamal Rajapaksa here, Mahinda Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Namal Rajapaksa leave their portfolios, the ministerial portfolios. They all were in the top positions, but they had to leave because of the people's struggle. And I'm not going to talk about all this because Vimukti will explain more. But I just want to highlight this is kind of a struggle which everyone appreciated, and everyone is contributing at the moment. And we have come to the peak of the struggle right now. And so yesterday, the 5th of July, the strugglers, the protesters, they just declared 6 points demands about the future of the thing. Because once people start the agitations, all were supported, but the problem was, okay, if this government step down, what will happen next? So the middle class people, they were really worried. So what will happen? Will it become an anarchic situation? Will this will take over by the military, or what will happen next? But it's very clear now. The protesters, they have come up with very clear roadmap how the country will be move ahead, move forward after this situation. But unfortunate situation is these two. This is president and the prime minister. So they say, we don't want to leave, we don't want to step down. Okay, but people continue, and they have given a date that tomorrow will be the last day. I mean, tomorrow, of course, tomorrow, 7th of July will be the last day. Okay, with all these struggles, the situation is continuing and people are agitating. I just put this slide here because I just want to highlight this point, because you can see the war ended in 2009, and by 2020, by the time of end of war, that was 2009, we had only 200,000 army in the country. But by 2012, it increased another 100,000, like it became 300,000 military. And by 2015, it became 400,000. So already the government is occupying in the north, which the war-torn areas earlier. And what will happen with the government? Because they will use the military to, that's why our fear, there will be a big bloodshed if the Gotabaya Rajapaksa will not step down peacefully, and there will be a big struggle, which Vimukti will explain. But I just want to end up this session because we are really worried now. Okay, you know, this Philippines, what happened 25 years ago, 1997, it's a struggle, it's a revolution. And Marcos, the dictator and the looter of the country, was evicted, but his son came into power this year again. But here, this is Mahinda Rajapaksa and this is Namal Rajapaksa. So we are in a fear that, I don't know, it is not like 25 years, even near future, this person would come into power again. So that's our fear. So that's why I said this history will repeat. We don't know. So I just want to stop here so we can go to the details of Vimukti's presentation about the struggle. Then we'll come back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Maman, for that presentation. It was very informative, and also you described a lot about the various perspectives of the issue, data, and also the real situation here now in Sri Lanka. So as you know, yeah, there are some comments. I think there are some questions we can go into later. But I think like some question, you already got the answer of the from the slides of Mr. Harman's presentation. So as you already know, like people in Sri Lanka are protesting and they are resisting in diverse ways. People in the ground and also people in the national level, they are resisting and they are agitating. They don't just don't protest for poor food and also the inflation, but also they are urging kind of a system change and political system change in Sri Lanka. They ask for the new constitution, and also they question the previous and prevailing political systems in Sri Lanka. So as we always say, like the neoliberal economic model has failed the global poor in times of abundance, but more so in times of crisis. So to walk us through the protest movement in Sri Lanka and the demands of the activists and the opposition, let's welcome Anuka Vimukti. So Vimukti De Silva from Movement for Lands and Agriculture Reforms. We call it MONLA. So let me introduce a little bit more about Vimukti, because she was in the struggle from the beginning, and she was empowering all the women and all the grassroots level people to engage with the struggle and engage with the struggle in diverse level. And she has her own community at her village as well, and she's doing alternative, she's engaging in alternative mechanisms as well. And so let's welcome Vimukti. Vimukti will share more about the perspective of struggles and what's going on in Sri Lanka. Vimukti.
Thank you, Chatu, and thank you for the everyone for inviting me. And I like to say about this is very special moment for Sri Lanka, because we are in a totally economic collapse now. I think Herman saying most important data and what happened to the in Sri Lanka. Now I want to share about the how it's a struggle come forward with the young persons and how it's mobilized, because this is totally mass movement. It's not a main part of the, it's like a not a very political movement before. It's a starting point. It's coming to against to the government economic collapse and come to the their house. Especially women's come out with saying their issues, especially in the Mirihana issue, like April 3rd. Because of the we had 15 hours power cut. That's the main point. We come out because we feel we are going to die or something. That's how this struggle start. But after that, April 9th, we occupied the point near to the presidential secretariat office, and people starting the saying it's not the small issue. It's coming days. It's like it's going on, because people saying president have to leave, but he didn't say any words, and he just hidden for the his office or something like that. And how this struggle starting with the young person, because a lot of people are mobilizing in the point because of their issue with the fuel, gas, electricity, this kind of thing. And it's like we call, it's like a struggle of the love, because we don't want to get any violence, because we had a very bad experience in Sri Lanka, 71 rebel and the 88 and 89 like political young like youth rebellions struggle in here, but people say no, we don't want to fight with the like weapons, but we have to fight with the political arms. People come together to fight against the political movements. Like it's starting in the Colombo, but after that we starting other points also, especially down south, up country, and also the north central province. A lot of areas trying to come together and saying to leave to the president. I feel it's not like starting in the middle class. Like I like to say it's like a not the Colombo issue, but it's come like this. It's like because people uh, feel it's come to their door. But before the some changes in the political changes, it's like some laws, especially Herman mentioned about the uh, fertilizer and chemical banding. It's totally uh, affected by the farmers issue, because they don't know how to do the organic, because it's like a huge issue. It's we all are supportive for the agroecological way, but they are bringing not good solution just for the banning the chemical because of their political battle. Especially Rajapaksa family is starting some project for the getting some funding, like loans, especially the IMF giving some loans for the demanding the organic farming. That's how bringing to the organic agriculture. It's Sri Lanka. We lost our harvest more than 50%. They cannot survive with this issue. In this case, not only the rice farmers, I think all kind of vegetables, rice, and everything we lost. And in this case, it's farmers are protesting every day, but farmers are feeling it's not feel for the urban areas. But after the last April, in this year April, people have to come together, because everywhere we saw the issue. But people cannot mobilize one way, like farmers in their ways, and urban areas they have another issue. But in the Gulf as a struggle bring the good ideal point for the changing the situation, the like an individual protest. They trying to come together with the everyone, uh, and like students, unions, farmers, and disappears collectives, and also the deaf peoples, all are come together to the this occupation place, and they saying now we really need to the change the political situation in here. That's the point. We have to bring together, especially young leaders come forward, especially I feel women leaders, like I saw Chatu, myself, and a lot of women come together to making real solutions for the ground. We're trying to mobilize peoples. We're trying to organize the grassroots peoples to understand what happened in the Sri Lanka, how we fight against to the this corrupt government, not only the Gotabaya Rajapaksa or Rajapaksa regime, It's like we really need to political solution. Just we have to say Rajapaksa have to leave and they have to go to jail. But we need to understand the reality, how we organize the village level to get the food within our community, how we arrange it. We cannot wait to the food with dollars, because I think we are waiting for that. They're saying we didn't have to understand how we change the our economic patterns in here, how we get the reality of the our changing our economic pattern, how we get our political power in here. Especially we're trying to organize the peoples to against the system, not only the political uh, regime. Just we're trying to organize the peoples to understand what we can do, how we can do. That's our battle in the our struggle. Especially we will try to, because still I think Herman explained how we get the our income like a dollars. Main thing is the women's are top level dollar earn peoples in here, but it's they are not get any good environment to live. How we change that point? We're trying to organize peoples to mobilize for their rights. It's not only the like a fight against to the Gotabe or Rajapaksa. We trying to organize to the changing the system. Especially I think young women's and young peoples come together to bring real good idea how we change the situation. That's my idea to share, and especially I like to say especially about the as a farmer we are facing many issue with this economic collapse, because we didn't have a like a normal farmers didn't have a chemicals, they didn't have any idea of the organic agriculture. Government didn't have any practice or any idea of the how we bring to the agroecology for the national level platforms. They just banned the chemicals, and nowadays we didn't have a fuel. We got some small amount of harvest, but we cannot sell because no fuel, no transport here, because we are not we didn't get any like a coupon for the getting fuels for the transportation as a farmers. And also special farm labors, they didn't have any work in here. They are going to hunger day by day, especially plantation workers didn't have enough food in here, because they uh, food price is going up, but they didn't get any income. We know after we had a huge fight last 2-3 years getting 1,000 income for day, but now it's 1,000, it's not enough to live. And also fisheries have a huge issue about the fuel, and
Hi, Vimukti. Sorry
whole
for
food pattern is
interrupting.
going down. And also especially uh,
Y-
like a government like a BOI areas, they didn't have enough food. They cannot survive because it's a like a rice packet, its price is totally high. That's why we start like a community kitchen in some areas. We trying to organize people to the community kitchen, to not only for the food, we trying to talk with them to how we mobilize as a we trying to get some political ideological discussion with them. That's how we trying to engage with the people. And also the July
Hi,
9th,
Vimukti.
we trying
Can
to
you hear me?
mobilize whole country to against to the Gotabaya Rajapaksa. We saying go home Gota and Rajapaksa have to go to the jail. That's the our demands in here. Thank you so much giving to the time for
Thank
me.
you. Thank you, Vimukti. Thank you very much for that interesting like sharing. Like as you said, yes, the people in Sri Lanka has understand this issue in their own perspective, and they are resisting with their own capacities and also capabilities. Nowadays, like there's a national movement, as she correctly shared, like which resist and say it like go to home. It means like people ask the president to go home, and also the prime minister to go home, and also they urge a kind of a like political change, including the constitutional change in Sri Lanka, because we have a hope like we experience from this nepotism and also this political culture. What we experience is really bad. It impacted the lives of the youth, particularly, and they are thinking like these elders, like they devastate our future, and also they destroy our the most valuable time in the life. Therefore, they should responsible for that. And also our youth, like they are demanding and urging like go to jail, like they ask president to go jail, and they should responsible. They should not just go home, but they should go to jail for what they have done to this country. So that is the situation. There would be a mass protest on 9th of July this month. Then let's see what would happen. So next, I would like to thank you very much, Vimukti, for raising the concerns and also sharing the perspectives of the protest and also the struggle. You are in the struggle, so that is the most interesting thing. And like we are kind of like now halfway through our webinar, and organized by the People's Coalition on Food Sovereignty, National Fisheries Solidarity Organization, and CPDE Rural Constituency. So we would remind you that like this program is live streamed on Facebook pages of the organizers, and also links are shared in the chat box before, and maybe you can also share again, Nina. And you can share our Facebook live stream and also post in the Twitter account at PCFS Global. So once you're sharing, please use the hashtag Hungry for Change and hashtag Sri Lanka Crisis. So now we are going to move for listen to the sharings of the reactors. So as our panelists suggested, the current crisis in Sri Lanka is not unique to the country. A lot of poor and maldeveloped nations are following suits and are at high risk of economic distress, if not collapse. So to share their thoughts on this matter and show their messages of solidarity, please welcome our reactors, Wali Haider, from PKMT, and also the Asian Peasant Coalition, and Ujani Halim. She's the Executive Director of Institute for Motivating Self-Employment, or IMSC, India, and Lisa Maza from the International League of People's Struggle for ILPS. So I would like to first call to Wali, then next Ujjaini, and next Lisa. So after their messages sharing, we will go to the question and answer session. Meantime, you can write your questions and comments in the chat box. Wali.
Thank you very much, Chatu. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Thank you, PCFS and other co-organizer for organizing this very important webinar. Rather, it's been an eye-opener for many of us who have been trapped into the international financial institutions grab, especially country like Pakistan. When I was hearing Harman and my friend from Monrar, I was thinking that they are talking about Pakistan. So all the situation been elaborated for Sri Lankan situation. You know, we are 100% in the same situation, but the situation is the base of the situation is rather maybe different. For instance, we are in such a situation just because of IMF. So we got $6 billion bailout plan in July 2019 with a coming of our new Imran Khan-led government. So this $6 billion bailout plan is for 39 months, which is going to finish in coming December. And coming December in 5-6 months, but we received only $3 billion by them, just because they have been dictating us more and more harsh conditionalities to us. First, I want to mention that there is a trap they used to put us. The trap is when you get IMF money, the $6 billion for 39 months is not much. Everybody knows that. But they tied up with other funding. For instance, the Paris Club, the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank. Unless or until you have IMF package, you can't have access to those funds, which is quite more. But it's the conditionality is that if you go for IMF, then there will be green light for other sources. So that's the trap, because in $3 billion, the Pakistan economy had not been sustained by the IMF, which we have been received. But for the past 5 months, the IMF program has been installed because they have put in place new restrictions to us. And since the Imran Khan, the earlier government, there was a no confidence motion been filed in the parliament. So they could not fulfill IMF demand because of public pressure. But as soon as the no confidence motion have passed, a new government installed, in past 2 months, 100 rupees price increase per liter of petrol. 100 rupees. 100 rupees. Yeah. And it's quite a lot. And it's mean that all of the cost of living been increased. And as Chatu was mentioning and Harman was mentioning, that the price of rice to wheat to vegetable to cooking oils. I myself have gone for grocery 3 days back, and my monthly grocery expense was around 10,000 to 12,000 per month grocery expense. This time, just 3 days back, I got 22,000 to 25,000. So it's more or less 40 to 50% increase. This is highest in the past 15 years in Pakistan, the inflation rate. But now the government has announced budget in last week of June, and they have given some remedy to the public. For instance, the annual income salaried person have given exemption till 12 lakhs. Anyone who is earning till 12 lakhs will be exempted by the income tax. But the IMF has forced the Pakistani government to eliminate that. They say this is the income bracket which is in majority in your country. how can you give them the exceptions? So there is no exception now. So Pakistan, again, the presented budget have been changed under the IMF pressure. So in such a situation where IMF has dictated us to increase the electricity prices from 12 rupees to 25 rupees per unit, blanket. So it's the accumulative effect is being coming to the masses, and there is no collective response to these atrocities by the state, but here and there in this pocket, people are coming out. Just especially in the case of fuel prices, whenever they announce a fuel price 25 rupees raise per liter, first time they raise 14 rupees per liter, they raise 10 rupees per liter in various in past 2 months. People are coming out on the street and agitating and protesting us, but what their counter argument is, we don't have any way out unless we do this to reinstate the IMF package. If we don't get IMF package, we will be bankrupt. We have only $8 billion reserved, which is 1.5 month payment for oil for Pakistan. So we are in a huge economic crisis. People are being thrown out by their jobs because there are news that in European and US market, there is no market for them. Even they have sale packages, get one buy one, but Pakistani products are not being sold because of the purchasing power being decreased in these countries. So we need to see the purchasing power in these very industrialized countries being decreased. What would be the situation in the third world countries, especially in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and all of the African countries. So we have been told that the only remedy is going to the IMF, and we are now again about to sign the new agreement for a revised agreement for extension of a 1 year and $3 more billion to it, so that other funding can come. So it's quite a paradoxical situation where we are into this trap because of IMF, where Sri Lanka is going to IMF to get rid of this trap. So this is a very tricky situation, and we have a series of discussion here in Pakistan done by PKMT and Roots and others. So it seems that
hi, Wali.
Have to finish.
Sorry for interrupting, Wali. Because of the time limit, can we wrap up?
Okay. Just give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
Can I have 10 minutes? 2 minutes?
Yes, you can have 2 minutes.
Okay. So now, in a nutshell, that these we have thoroughly worked out how these funds been used. So these funds been always used to fulfill the elite of the elitist lifestyle and to fulfill military and industrial requirements, not for feeding to the population of our countries. So in fact, we are already living in darkness, as my friend from Monlan mentioned. In Pakistan, 10 hours to 15 hours electricity breakout is going on. So we are already living in poverty. We are living in darkness. We are living in joblessness. We are living in hunger. So what if IMF money will not come? So there is a need. I don't know how to do it, but there is a need to mobilize people around this. We are nothing to lose if IMF monies will not come. We are already in a dire situation, if IMF money is there or not. How we need to get rid of this situation, unless or until our national economies are in their own foot, our food sovereignty will be in our self-dependent. Otherwise, with these superficial solutions, we cannot get rid of our economic situation, and poverty, hunger, joblessness will be continued. So I don't know what's the solution unless we mobilize ourselves in a huge number to get rid of these kind of superficial solution, like been promoting in Sri Lanka. They are talking to IMF again, and they will be again in trap, like we are in trap. This is endless cycle of trap for our marginalized and majority of the planet people. Thank you very much, Chatu. Sorry for taking long time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wali, for sharing your solidarity messages and also sharing your actually learnings and also the experiences, which is the same situations happening in Pakistan as well. So next, I would like to invite Ujjaini Halim from IMSE. She's the Executive Director of the Institute for Motivating Self-Employment. Ujjaini, you have 5 minutes. Yeah, you can start.
Thank you, Chatu. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Yes, Ujjaini, please take.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, thank you, PCFS, for organizing this very timely discussion and this debate, which is actually going on all over South Asia and globally. Thank you, all the speakers, and also thank you, Wali, for your initial reaction. And I would like to start from there. I mean, Wali said that until and unless our own economy, our national economy becomes stronger, we cannot come out of this trap, the trap which all of us are somehow facing, or we are kind of pushed into. And the situation is not very different in India, because India is a federal country. India is a very big country. Indian economy is compared to the economy of some of our neighboring countries, structured in a slightly different way. So maybe our ability to resist some of the, not to resist, but I would say our ability to tolerate a crisis would be a little longer. But ultimately, we will also end up in a situation like Sri Lanka. I will share with you some data which will clearly indicate that we are also following the same path. We actually started following that path of neoliberalization in 90s. And so today, where we reached, it's not very different from what our friends from Sri Lanka shared and friends from Pakistan shared. So the main question is, where is that political will to strengthen our own economy? What we have seen, at least in the Indian context, is just the opposite. Not, instead of strengthening our own economy, very, very strong push for privatization, for corporatization. And right now we are in a economy which is completely corporate controlled capitalism. There we are. And of course, the external factors that Harman mentioned, we also had the same external factors: pandemic, Ukraine war. Of course, FDI is different. India still has significant FDI, attracting significant FDI. But apart from the other two, apart from FDI, the other things are quite similar. And this immense push for privatization, that too corporatization by 2, 3, 4 selected corporates in India. That is the present day scenario. And that is where we are, and I would just like to congratulate all the people in Sri Lanka who are fighting against this huge crisis, and who have come out to protest peacefully against the violation of human rights, I will call it. And so that is very encouraging. And in fact, when the Sri Lankan crisis become known globally and in South Asia, the big debate started in India whether we Indians are also going Sri Lankan way. And there are many articles, of course, where those who support the regime, they are trying to convince us, no, we are not going in that way. But we, the common people, are seeing that we are actually following the same kind of plight. Just to give you a few statistics. So India's projected GDP growth has declined from 8.8% to 6.2%. India's extended, but of course, I mean, India has given some, it has nothing to do with this GDP, but India has tried to help Sri Lanka by providing some credit, etc. That's a different issue. Indian debt, external debt, which our friends from Pakistan was talking, our friends from Sri Lanka, they were also mentioning, Indian external debt has also gone up by 8% in last 1 year, and with an additional debt of 47 USD 47 billion. So right now, Indian external debt is 620.7 billion USD. So that's a rising curve. Inflation is also all-time high. Annual inflation rate increased to 6.95% in March this year, and whether it is retail inflation or wholesale price inflation, both are actually going very, very high. Time constraint, I can't go into detail. If we look at the food price, consumer food price inflation has gone up from 0.68% to 8.38% in 1 year. So you can imagine, I mean, Wali Bhai was talking about price, like yesterday only, our LPG, I mean, the cooking gas cylinder price has again gone up by rupees 50 per cylinder. And that is something very essential commodity for everyone. Fuel price, of course, and 1 kg of potato, 1 kg of tomato. I mean, the price just doubling. Income is, of course, not doubling for the poor and the marginalized, and even for the middle class. And if we look at our forex reserve, that is also falling. So foreign exchange reserve declined by 28.05 billion USD in last 6 months only. Only exception is FDI, foreign direct investment, which is slightly increasing. Fiscal deficit is also increasing by 6.9. It is 6.9% in March 2022, which is an increasing curve. So and the currency right now, $1 is touching to INR, Indian rupees 80. It is unprecedented. We do not remember when was the last time it touched 80 rupees. So unemployment scenario, if we see, the unemployment rate is also increasing very much. During the pandemic time, 125 million full-time job vanished, and 263 million people were pushed into extreme poverty in 2022. These are all kind of government data. I am not figuring out this data from anywhere. And the fuel price, petrol price today, it varies from one city to another, but on an average is like 110 rupees per liter for petrol, and almost 96.71, that is 97 rupees for diesel. That is also unprecedented. Now, at the same time, India's top 10% of the population, as per this Oxfam inequality virus report, holds 74.3% of the total national wealth. And this is a very recent report. And the wealth of the Indian billionaires in this last 2 years increased by 35% during the COVID lockdown, etc. So what we see that whatever crises are there, whether external crisis or internal crisis, a section of Indian population who actually, these are the corporates and the elite, they profit at the cost of the poor, and so the income gap is increasing and increasing. We also face the external debt crisis and mindless quote unquote development project which has nothing to do with the development of people. Food crisis. All of you have probably heard about the farmers movement in the recent past which happened in India, and so there were 3 laws introduced which were very much against farmers and for the interest of that corporate. So farmers also organized themselves and they protested for almost 1 year very peacefully, and then at the end government had to take back those laws. So when I was listening to the protests in Sri Lanka, I think the key words were, of course, strength, solidarity, peaceful movement, and to have a very clear idea of what we want as an alternative development paradigm. I mean, because otherwise this entire thing will keep repeating. This crisis will keep repeating. This crisis, I believe, is not only a crisis of Sri Lanka, India, or Pakistan. It is the crisis of global capitalism, which is manifested in different forms. Of course, due to this crisis, what we also see as a social crisis in India is increase in communal tension, increase in attacking human rights defenders, increase in kind of, you cannot go out and protest against government policies, then you are called anti-nationals, you are called these and you are called that, and so these are all diversion issues. Which make it difficult for the people to come together across religion, across caste, across other barriers, and to be together and ask for real change, pro-people change, change for kind of social, which we are actually. We are a socialist republic, so we should stick to that. And what our government is trying to do, also in line following the prescription of the global institutions, is reducing the social benefits and entitlements, and they're saying, okay, India is also a little bit in crisis, and the only way to manage this crisis is to further curtail the entitlements and social benefits that we give to the people. They call it freebies, but we have to be very clear, there is nothing as freebies. These are entitlements, these are for rights of the people. So the debate needs to be there, debate needs to be among people. We need to be aware. There should be much more awareness among people. We cannot wait until we really, kind of become like Sri Lanka today. And I believe what is very positive thing for me to hear from Sri Lanka, that people are united. You people have come together, you are protesting, and I'm pretty sure that you will overcome this crisis. And I hope that we can also learn from your experiences and can also be together in our protest peacefully, in a constructive way for a better future, which is people-centric. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much, Ujjaini, for interesting sharing the perspective of India as well, and thank you for the message at the end. So next I would like to invite Eliza Amaza. She's from International League of People's Struggle, or it's called ILPS. So Lisa, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Chatu. Good morning, good evening, whatever your time zone is. First, I would like to thank PCFS for organizing this very important discussion, as well as the other co-sponsors. Also, let me express the solidarity of the International League of People's Struggles to the people of Sri Lanka, especially the working class who bear the brunt of the current economic collapse in Sri Lanka, and who have organized the protest movement and resolutely resisted the government's policies. And also we salute the Sri Lankan people. Of heightened by the Sri Lankan government against its people. As what the other speakers have, as what the other actors have said, Sri Lanka is not an isolated case. There is the crisis of the neoliberal economics in many parts of the world, in Latin America, in Costa Rica, Chile, Argentina, for example, in Africa, in Zambia, Ghana, Nigeria, of course, here in Asia, Pakistan, India, Philippines, Sri Lanka. So we are on the same boat, so to speak. And this is all because there is the grave crisis of the capitalist system. And the Sri Lankan crisis only illustrates the failure of the neoliberal project. Contrary to what others who are assessing the Sri Lankan situation, that it is just a case of government mismanagement of the economy. The truth is that the Sri Lanka was the first of the countries in South Asia that implemented the neoliberal reform in the 1970s, when the government embarked on the so-called open economy reform. And under that reform, they promote foreign investment through incentives given to foreign corporations, very much like what is happening in the Philippines, what is happening in Pakistan, what is happening in India. And they also gave preferential treatment to these foreign corporations, to these foreign investors, as well as promoting export processing through export processing zone, or they promoted export-oriented manufacturing through export processing zones. Again, very much what happened in the Philippines and in other countries. It also embarked on an economic program that is debt-driven. So they were, so their yearly so-called development program were not actually financed through their own economic production, but through borrowing, through debt. No? And this is the problem. No? If you are not developing your basic economy, like agriculture and manufacturing, but instead just borrowing to finance your expenses, that is a recipe for disaster. But that is what neoliberal economic paradigm, that is how neoliberal economic paradigm works. Well, another aspect that I would like to bring into the discussion, which Herman also earlier pointed out, is the relationship of militarization and the economic crisis. And again, we can see this in many countries, not only in Sri Lanka but also in my country, the Philippines. Well, if we look at Sri Lanka, for example, from 1.5% in 1983, no, the military spending increased to double, about 3.5% of GDP in 2008. That was the year before the end of the Civil War, where the liberation struggle of the LTTE was completely crushed, and many, about 70,000, were killed, no, in that civil war. Well, 20% of government spending was allocated to the military. As Waterman said, defense personnel also increased from 22,000 in 1989 to more than 200,000 in 2008. And this trend continued, no? Even after the Civil War. For example, in 2017, budget allocation for the military was 11%. So here we can also see that political repression, fascism, the silencing of people is necessary for neoliberalism, and to be implemented, as well as the structural adjustment programs that are imposed by the IMF World Bank in the poor countries such as Sri Lanka, the Philippines, Pakistan, and other colonies and neo-colonies. The third point that I want also to raise in the discussion is that with the crisis, like in Sri Lanka, the country becomes more vulnerable to the geographical interest of contending imperialist countries. No? Like in the case of the Philippines, the United States has for the longest time controlled our economy, our politics, and the whole of our society. In Sri Lanka as well, it is possible, no, that because of the desire to resolve the crisis, the government of Sri Lanka would accede, no, to the impositions of this the United States, for example, China, and other imperialist countries, to be able to save the economy. No? But as we know, and from the experience of many countries also, no, by conceding or by acceding to the impositions, no, demands, no, and the strings, and by implementing the conditionalities of the loans, no, from capitalist countries, no, who provide loans to these countries in crisis. It is usually the case that they become indebted, not only economically but politically as well. And we should cite the importance of Sri Lanka, for example, in the geopolitical interest, no, of the United States and the other rising imperialist countries like China, the US allies like the European countries, and even Russia. Because Sri Lanka is strategically located in the Indian Ocean, where about 80% of seaborne oil passes through. No? And the Indian Ocean is also important, no, for the US in its Indo-Pacific agenda, which President Biden has just unveiled in his visit in Asia. And also NATO has said that China will be an important country and a threat, no, to NATO existence. That is why it is very much also eyeing Asia as a stage of war. And that, of course, includes the countries in the Asia Pacific, including Sri Lanka, which has a very good location. It has one of the deepest harbors, no, in Asia, which is militarily and strategically important for the contending imperialist countries. As a last point, I would say that understanding the context of geopolitics, as well as understanding the context of the struggle of the people, no, against their oppressors in their own countries, no, it is important for us, no, to know that in no other time in history that we should bind together and express our solidarity and work towards our own interest, no? The interest of our own people, the interest of our own region, the interest of all the oppressed peoples, wherever they may be. No? Because even the US is not spared from the debt crisis. No? The United States even has a very big debt that it has to confront with. That is why it is said that the next crisis will be the global debt crisis, and it will be a crisis that that would be so unimaginable. And now the call is for us is to unite. The call for us is to know our enemies. The call for us is to know our friends. And our friends are the working people of Sri Lanka. Our friends are the oppressed and marginalized people of Argentina who are also protesting against the structural adjustment program and the impositions of the IMF. Our friends are the Indian farmers who have successfully waged their protest against the 3 neoliberal laws. Our friends are the American people who are feeling the hardships also of the brought about by the capitalist crisis. The homeless people in the US, the poor people in Europe, no? The poor people in Africa. We should all fight together against all these impositions by the rich countries, by the imperialist powers, and only through our unity and only through our struggles in our own country should the people be free. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello. Sorry, my name is Bianca from the Youth for Food Sovereignty. I will be taking over. I think Chato has been disconnected. We will wait if she will be able to reconnect. But for now, thank you so much to our reactors for sharing their comments and even interventions on the presentations given earlier. Right now, we have about 20 minutes to go over questions and even thoughts from our audience and people who are with us in Zoom tonight. We will be enabling, I think we will be enabling people to raise their hand if there are questions or any thoughts you would like to raise for the panel. But as we will wait for that, let me read one comment or a question from Paul Belisario from IPMSDL. So I think this is for our speakers from Sri Lanka. How would you describe how the minorities and indigenous peoples, the Tamils, Indian Tamils, Moors, Malays, Burghers, Chetty, Bharata, Vedas, etc., are impacted by the current crisis in Sri Lanka? And the second question is, what is the urgent international action or support that the people of Sri Lanka demand? May I call on anyone from our panel? Maybe Herman can begin to address the questions raised by Paul. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, this struggle began with the crisis, not necessarily overnight struggle. It has been there for so long. The struggle began with the farmers because of the breakdown of their productions, agriculture. And also, this was one of the struggles which the teachers conducted during the time period of beginning of Gotabe regime, demanding their salary increase. The third thing was that university students came to the streets fighting against this Kotalawala Defense University Act, which was defeated actually, at least to withdrawn for a time being. All these struggles were really successful struggles. The farmers, they finally got their demands that the appropriate fertilizer, meaning that they just had to lift the ban of chemical fertilizer, and they were able to get their fertilizer back after a long period of battle. And teachers are also agreed to pay their salaries. So, but what he asked, Paul asked, is that question is how the struggle affect the people and affect the minorities, ethnically, numerically minority groups. That's the question actually. You know, we should say this struggle was not really touched the heart and mind of the ethnic minorities like Tamils, Muslims, Vedas, and other people. Though, because this struggle mainly, as Vimukti also said and Chatu mentioned, that this struggle was mainly because they lost their income, the farmers lost their income, and also the scarcity of food in the market, medicine, power cuts, fuel price increase, and many other reasons like that. So those have been there during the war period. The people from the war-torn areas at that time, they didn't have any food, water, electricity, shelter, and anything during that time. And southern people were enjoyed, and they were really blessed the military actions against the minorities at that time. So people say, the Tamil people say, oh, we have been there so long and we faced this problem so long, but you did not care. Now, because of you lost this, lost this food and everything, now you are coming to the street and fighting like that. Actually, that is, to a certain extent, is true. In that, they say we are not fully engaged this struggle, though we are remotely blessed this struggle. This is not our struggle, it's not a collective struggle in that sense. But the people in the country, like the protesters in the struggle, they say this is not only singular people struggle, this is a collective struggle, and it will benefit to the whole country once the corrupted, these bloody government, once they evicted, they will, we all will have some positive results out of this, so that it's going to be a better, it's going to be a struggle of all. And so that it will really, because this youth, the people who are struggling there, they want to have more inclusiveness, more openness, and more democratic struggle here, though there are so many ups and downs there. They are trying to make it more inclusive one, getting all the communities, all the races, all the communities together to fight and get the benefit out of it. For the second question you asked about the question about what are the most urgent needs that we need. Of course, the food prices are gone up. We are losing our economic system mainly because 1.4 million families are depending on agriculture. That is 8 million people totally depending on agriculture, 2 million people depending on fisheries, around 2 million people living on plantation communities. So all these people are depending on having serious food crises at the moment. Also, we are having very serious fuel crisis. The power cuts are extending maybe 6 hours a day now. So we need fuel. So we need to find some way to overcome this this issue of no money to find US dollars to pay for the fuel. That is the basic thing at the moment. So we don't have any way. So we are searching, and we have gone to Qatar to find fuel. So far, no successful result. So we don't have any way that finding our own economy to develop, as Wali and everyone said, Eugenia and everyone said about how we overcome this problem with, though the government says we'll have our homegrown systems, we don't have any system at all. We are day by day, we are going down, and there is no any breakthrough through this regime. And also, there is no proper action to the looters who grab our resources. And people think now, whatever way that you earn money, even you sell out all the natural resources or water bodies or sea bottom, anything that you can sell and bring food and fuel. So that is the main demand of the people. But we need to find ways how to utilize our own resources, because we have a lot of natural resources, the forests, water bodies, inland water bodies, sea bottom, and many resources on that we can utilize, but we don't have any system to develop our own way to gain food and other incomes. So that is one of the biggest problems that we are facing, but we need some sort of mechanism, and the strugglers, the protesters are demanding to have a system to adopt. So maybe my colleagues also can add more.
Thank you, Herman. I think Vimukti is still with us. Vimukti, do you have anything to add, especially regarding the urgent call for international solidarity? Perhaps you can share some messages, and we are certain that groups will pick up on this and be ready to show you and express their support. Vimukti. Okay. I think, Vimukti, are you still with us? Okay, it seems perhaps she is not hearing us anymore, but for now, let me read some of the sentiments and even thoughts from our audience. Tonight, I see a response to Ms. Liza Masa of ILPS from Suhas, echoing and even emphasizing the importance of coming together. So they said, the way to fight back the economic policies imposed on us by the corporate around the globe, so we the people of South Asia and even marginalized people in USA and Europe should join hands. Thank you. That's from Suhas Kolhekar from NAPM in India. And I think, are there any more questions or any more thoughts from us in Zoom tonight before I can perhaps end formally the Q&A portion? Okay, if none anymore, we can continue the discussion in the chat in case I didn't see it. And our panelists and reactors will be sure to respond. But for now, thank you everyone for those critical points you have raised, as well as your messages of solidarity for the peoples of Sri Lanka. As we are nearing our close, we would like to inform everyone that we're going to have a group solidarity photo before we formally end our webinar. Please stay in our Zoom after our last speaker. So to round out this productive discussion and to share the next activities of the coalition, let's hear it from Julie Smith, the coordinator of PCFS Europe. Julie?
Yeah, warm greeting. Sorry, I have to excuse you because I'm losing my voice. I've got a cold. Warm greetings from here in Luxembourg. I'm Julie from PCFS, coordinator for PCFS Europe. I'd really like to thank all the speakers from today. I think this has been such an important webinar, especially for me in Europe, where at the moment everybody is only talking about the war in Ukraine and maybe the impact in Europe. But it's so important to be able to see what's happening in Sri Lanka and also to see how it's also a general issue. So some thank yous, first of all, to Chatu for guiding us through the program and to Herman for his really very informative inputs that enabled us to learn more about the background to the crisis that we've heard about, but maybe don't know enough in depth about, and which has brought so much suffering to the people of Sri Lanka in their daily lives. Thanks also to Anuka Fimokti, because she gave us such a clear insight into the protest movement of the Sri Lankan people and their courage in challenging the government, which is really responsible for this terrible crisis that is affecting ordinary people in Sri Lanka so badly. Thanks also to Lisa, Ujjaini and Wally for reacting and really putting the remarks of our speakers into a global context. It was very interesting to hear the parallels that you drew from the Sri Lankan situation to situations in your country and others. So I think a few of the very important points that stayed with me one of them was the fact that everyone made it clear that we need system change, that tinkering with the neoliberal capitalist system is really not going to be enough to solve the problems that face us and to pull the world out of the crisis. It's become clear that this isn't an isolated crisis, but rather it's a global one. In fact, it's the crisis of global capitalism. And in order to confront it, and here I'd like to quote Ujjaini, who said, strength, solidarity, a peaceful movement, and a clear idea of what we demand is crucial. It became also clear to me that it's very important that we all remain vigilant to what is happening, because what is happening to the people in Sri Lanka right now can well happen to people in other countries suffering from a high debt burden, such as Pakistan or India. Nigeria is another example. Everyone could be faced with this, the horrors imposed by the IMF loans. So let us all stand in solidarity with the people of Sri Lanka in their collective struggle. We salute your achievements in the face of hardship and repression, and we wish you strength and courage in all your efforts to enable Sri Lanka to transform and develop into a country where all people enjoy their human rights and a life in peace and dignity. Thank you very much. And again, apologies for not being able to speak so clearly today.
It's okay, Julie. It's loud and clear. Thank you. That ends our discussion for today. Again, my name is Bianca on behalf of Chatu. And this has been Fighting Hunger Amid an Economic Collapse, a webinar on Sri Lanka's food crisis, organized by the People's Coalition on Food Sovereignty, National Fisheries Solidarity Organization, and CPDE Rural Constituency. We're now going to have our group solidarity photo. I now turn over to our tech team for the instructions. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This will just take a few minutes. So can you please open your cameras? Okay, please open your cameras, everyone. Okay, we're waiting for everyone to open their cameras. Okay, one last call. Please open your camera so that we can take a group solidarity photo. Okay. Okay, so, okay, we're going to take the photo now. Count P, 1, 2, 3. Please raise your fists. Okay. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is the end of our webinar for today. We hope to see you in the upcoming activities of the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for
Bye.
joining.